Welcome back to the championship final match of YETICON 3.0, October 2024, Denver, Colorado. My name is Corey, and let's take a look at what our players have brought to the championship table with them. On your left is going to be Don. Don is rocking Grandma's old build of Lion, Dib, Bolt, and Dwarven Soldier. It's a very interesting inclusion there in the sort of middle of the deck photo, the two creatures there, the Dwarven Soldiers. It's an aggressive 2/1 red creature that gets a +0/+2 bonus if it interacts with orcs. It's a nice spot in the curve there. I think that 2 mana spot in these decks does have some limitations. You have plenty of great things at 1 and at 3 with the Serendib Efreets and the Psyblast, but the 2 mana slot always has something missing, and so it looks like Don is trying the old Dwarven Soldier in the 2 mana slot. That'll be really cool to see some of those here in the championship match. This is a 2 strip mine format, so you do see the 2 strip mines there, and you see a couple of cool altars on Don's list. So we see a Darth Vader counterspell. We see another, maybe an Emperor Star Wars lightning bolt. We see some more Star Wars representation here in the sideboard as well. Curious to see if the Jade statues come in and see any excitement or action after sideboard in these games. We'll have to see how that shakes out in the match. Let's go and take a look at Simon's deck. Simon comes to us with a very interesting deck made of a lot of misprints, miscuts, things that Simon is kind of known for in the community, having a great collection of these cards. We've got kind of some gold border things in the City of Brass. We have a lot of cards that are off-center cut, cards that are kind of dripping off the edge of the card frame. We have looks like a playtest card that I think is an island. I think that's a playtest island card put in a sleeve with another island. I haven't quite seen that one up close, but I think that's what that card is, kind of on the upper right part of Simon's deck. We do have, with Simon's deck, something to watch for is the Time Elemental misprint in the, I think it's Spanish 4th edition. It is a Sarah Angel, but it looks like a Time Elemental. So the text matches that of Sarah Angel, but the art and the card frame are those of Time Elemental. So we do play that as a Sarah Angel. So when you see that in the match here today, that is a 4/4 flyer. Simon does talk about the deck building choices on this one on a podcast, so I don't want to take the words out of his mouth, but we just some choice to include a lot of the interesting miscuts, and just the blue-white good flyers and protect them with counterspells is going to be Simon's strategy for today. So let's head on over to game number 1. And here we go with game number 1. Don on your left, Simon on your right. Simon taking a look at the hand of those wonderful misprints and miscuts. We'll try to break those down as we see them. Both players, excellent playmats, have been kind of scoring the playmat game. Looks like a signed factory one for Don. Simon with the one of those cool vellum-feeling playmats, a little bit smaller than your regular format. So Don gets started with the Mox and the Factory, another very, very well scribbled on Factory. Over on Simon's side, there is the miscut Revised Tundra with a couple of Moxes as well. So plenty of mana, plenty of action on the board here early for both players. Let's see what Don decides to do. Okay, we have the Volcanic Island. We're going to try to swing in for 2, and there is another Disenchant, a miscut Disenchant. Very cool. So Simon takes care of the Factory threat early. There's a Strip Mine and the Jam Day Tome, the book. So that one is off-center cut. Also, I know Simon uses a number of cool printings that Simon talks about on some podcast appearances. There's a Chain Lightning, looks like upstairs to Simon, to the dice. So some of these cards, even if they're not an obvious miscut, I think there are some cool printings mixed in with these. There's a Felwar Stone. Looks like it's leaning off the edge of the card there as well. Black Lotus for Don, and there is the Serendib Efreet. White border, original art Serendib Efreet, and a quick counterspell from Simon. Jam Day Tome is going to be active if Simon doesn't need to cast and counter. So he's going to pass the turn. Lightning Bolt, looks like that one's upstairs as well. City of Brass, and says go on ahead. Simon is going to read the book, draw a card at the end of turn. And the card advantage is going to start to swing Simon's direction now. Especially with Don using some of his burn spells against Simon's life total. Not exchanging for cards, but just exchanging for some life. Disenchant the the Sapphire on Don's side, does Simon. And now we're going to strip mine the Plateau. So take him off of the pain-free white source. And it looks like a time elemental, but that is a Sarah Angel. That is the misprinted, I think it's Spanish 4th edition Sarah Angel. So that is the 4/4 vigilance flying creature, even though it looks like it's the bouncer. So that is a very cool misprint. So there's a Chain Lightning, 3 damage to the Angel. Then the second burn spell, looks like it's altered. I can't tell if it's a bolt or a chain, but that one gets a counter spell, and then Simon does read the book. So Don, that was kind of going for the 1 for 2, and Simon says, I'll take the first one, I'll counter the second one. So the card advantage continues to swing in Simon's favor. Here's a Soul Ring, going to make it easier to read the book, and we are attacking for 4 in the air every turn now. Don just with 2 permanents on the field. Here comes the Kitty Cats. Savannah Lions takes a damage to do it. So that Plateau stripping relevant there. Simon has the playtest card and shows Don the playtest printing. Very cool. Put that down with the mana. And Don, even with the Lions there, there's not as much he can do. He's at 6 right now. Hard to attack with the Lions into a 4/4 blocker. Simon probably would just take it. Not sure what the life total is there. Simon's keeping it on the pad. A little bit more than on the dice. Players kind of talking what to do. Yeah, and Simon just says, go ahead, because not worth risking blocking and taking a 1-for-1 burn spell on the backside. Attacking for 2, puts Don down to 2. Going to read the book again. And Don needs some removal that's counterproof. Okay, here comes a Chaos Orb. Don's going to tap down to 1 with the City of Brass and going to counter the Chaos Orb. Says no thanks on the Chaos Orb. Don untaps, takes a look. It is a factory, it looks like. Don rips. Goes ahead and attack with the Lion. Play the factory. And he's gonna tap the City of Brass to take 1 to the Psy Blast. The Psy Blast will take him out before the City does, depending on how he wants to stack it. But anyway, that is game 1. It goes Simon's way. So both players going to take a look at their sideboard, and let's see what we have for game number 2. Game number 2 of this championship match. Both players taking a look at their opening hands. Don is going first, and you see Don reach for the library there to draw a card. He's not actually drawing for a turn. I think Don had 6 cards in the opening hand, and he flashes the 7 cards there. So I think he had the old 6-card keeper and then gets another bonus one. All right, so quickly we have a Plateau, Savannah Lions, and then on Simon's side, the Tundra. Awesome misprint, Simon. Very cool to see those again. And the Quick Swords to Plowshares for the Kitty Cat. Don getting the dice there, going up to 22 in the early game. And yes, the Kitty Cat is exiled out of the game. Okay, Don plays down the Volcanic Island, and there's a Soul Ring, and not a follow-up to the Soul Ring. So no 3-mana threat to come back with that one. Simon plays a City of Brass, gold border, cool City of Brass, and then passes the turn. Don has another mana source, plenty of mana, and says, I believe that's a pass to Simon. Simon looking end step for the Ancestral Recall. So Don kind of wishing for some more action. I think Don would love to have seen maybe a Serendib in that one or another threat to play down to put some pressure on Simon before Simon can build up the card advantage engine. Simon has the Mox Ruby, Underground Sea. Both players having access to all the mana and all the colors that they need. There's a Felwar Stone, so Simon even more set up for mana. And Simon has some good pain-free mana, too, outside of the normal colors. There's City of Brass, so now Simon does have access to everything via the Felwar Stone. We do have another Kitty Cat, Savannah Lions. Simon taking a look at the end step, deciding how much of a threat the Savannah Lions are at this juncture of the game. So Savannah Lions are a little bit less threatening as the game sort of goes on. Does have a counter spell. Maybe Simon deciding counter spell or let him resolve and use his swords. But a card like Lions is a little bit less threatening on turn 3 or 4 than on turn 1. So there is the Sarah Angel. Yes, it is the card with more of the card on the art. So I think Simon plays that as a Sarah Angel, takes a damage from the City of Brass. Now Don has the Control Magic. So the Control Magic did come in. Don seeing the Sarah Angel in game 1, maybe wishing he could take control of the cool Spanish misprint of the time limit to Sarah Angel, but I think he'll take this one just fine. So Don is looking in a much better position now. Maybe Don was kind of sandbagging that, waiting for Simon to play out a bigger threat, even baiting a counterspell possibly with the Savannah Alliance. So that's a really nice line of play. Simon does have a balance in hand, it looks like. I'm sure wondering if now is a good time to play that. It looks like a balance anyway. Simon with a little table tap there. You see the camera shake. You can tell these players are playing for everything here. They're playing for the Yeti Trophy, which we'll see. I'll see if I can put a picture in at the end of this video of the Yeti Trophy. Simon taking a long time to think about this one. I would guess probably considering the balance, or, oh, it looks like it's Wrath of God. Okay, so between the balance and the Wrath of God, Simon decides to go for the Wrath, and that does take care of the Sarah. It's a tough one to spend your Wrath of God to take out one creature, and it's an even bigger blow that it's your own creature, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Don does not have a follow-up after that, so Simon gets to untap, and here is another Sarah Angel. Don said, yep, he passes the turn, and Don's going to draw for his. So let's see if Don has another answer for this Sarah Angel. Mishra's Factory, not going to do it by itself. And he says, go ahead. Now, the factory's fairly safe to block in, or to attack in, because I would guess Simon's not keen to block with all of the burn spells that are likely in Don's hand. So he may have a free avenue to get some chip damage in here until the board state changes. Okay, Simon is a recall for 3, so just going to be naming 1 card. Let's see if he takes the Ancestral. It's a Wrath of God, I think. Oh, it's a Red Elemental Blast on Don's side. I'm sorry, I was looking closely at Simon's graveyard. A Red Elemental Blast will counter that recall. So no harm, no foul. All right, and we are activating and attacking, and just as I predicted, he does have a nice avenue to attack in. Either bluffing the burn spell or actually has the burn spell. Doesn't really matter in this case because Simon's winning the race at this point anyway, so he doesn't mind taking a little bit of chip damage. Okay, there is the Time Elemental printing of Sarah Angel and a mana drain for all that mana. So let's see what Don can do with 5 colorless mana. If he can't use it, he can dump it into his factory to avoid mana burn, but he's going to tap for a City of Brass for some colored mana, and there is a big Mind Twist. All right, so this is going to likely empty the hand of Simon. He plays a healing salve to gain 3 life. Nice play on that one. I mean, you might as well. And then he does have his hand emptied. So he gains 3 in response to the Mind Twist, loses his hand, but he still has the advantage on the board, winning the race here 4-2. And so let's see. Don's at 6 right now. Simon's life total is on the pad there. So there's a Psy Blast to take care of the Angel. A couple damage, so he's going to go to 4. And he's going to swing in for 2 more. Simon has a couple cards in hand now. Not sure if one of them is a Disenchant or one of them is an Artifact Removal. But he does take the damage here. And pass the turn. Simon's going to look at the hand, counting up the notes, counting up their life totals. And so Simon will update the dice. Thank you, Simon. I appreciate you helping out the video there. I know that's not the easiest thing to keep life total on both paper and dice. And players talking a little bit. I think Simon talked about this on the podcast. I think somebody walked by and asked a question during this exchange, and Simon at that time and Don could not remember if Simon had recorded the 2 damage. I believe was what Simon shared. Is they're not quite sure about the life totals because just as that attack was happening, somebody came by and asked a question about one of the cards. So unfortunate, and I'm sorry that. It was a little bit distracting in these tournament environments. It can be kind of tricky when everybody's enjoying a refreshment, and people have been enjoying refreshments kind of throughout the day. A lot of people finish their matches, and so I believe that's the exchange happening here. I don't have audio of the players captured, so I think they're sticking with Simon being on 11 here, and Don is on 3. Yeah, those things are easy to happen when you've got a tournament going on. Strip mine for the factory takes care of that threat. Simon is up a game here. So Don needs to get 11 damage in to finish this one out if he's going to force a game 3. So Don's going to disenchant the book. And it looks like Simon does have enough to read it, but is going to take 2 damage to go to read it, to get a card. So he's going to go to 9 here. Simon took a second to think about that because against the burn player, 11 and 9 are fairly different life totals. 11 and 9 is a little bit different. So Don's side, tapping 3. All right, and there is the Saren dib. Now, he's at a dangerously low life total. The dib is going to ping him before it does Simon any damage. So Don's going to untap. He's going to 2. Maybe he has something to deal with the Saren dib before it takes him out. There's a lightning bolt. Okay, lightning bolt. Okay, so that was 9. So it was 3, 3, 3. Simon did go to 9 to read the book, and then Don on his side goes attack with the Saren dib, bolt, and that makes 9. And that is our game number 2. Sorry about that attack exchange there, players. I know that's tricky with people walking by if you're trying to track your life total on a pad and keep it on the dice there for the video, and someone asking questions at the same time. It is rather tricky, but I think we got it figured out. Players are going to head on to game number 3. This is the deciding game for YETICON 3.0, so stay tuned. We'll see you back then. Back then, more like back now. This is game 3. This is the decider here for YETICON. Simon on the play for this one. Don is really dumping out on the battlefield, but no turn 1 play. We have the factory there, but into 2 white mana, it's not as profitable an attack as he probably would like. He is going to go for it, though. Take the 2 or take a card. He probably doesn't matter which. He doesn't care which one, I would guess. And, he does have the disenchant, so we are going to take care of that before damage. So, Don with plenty of mana. Let's see if he can find an early threat here to put some pressure on Simon's life total. Simon with 3 Tundras out, so access to the mana he needs for his blue and white creatures, trying to build up to that 5 spot there for Sarah Angel. Seems like that's the sweet spot for Simon. We do have the Mahamoti hanging around in Simon's deck list. Let's see if he can get to 6 and get the Moti out here for game 3. Simon plays an Underground Sea and a Chaos Orb. And we have Lightning Bolt upstairs from Don. Psyblast upstairs from Don. So there's a quick 7. There's a quick 7, a cool 7. So he's at, Simon's at 11 now. Don goes to 17 from the City of Brass and from the Psyblast. Don's going to tap 2. Let's see if he just has the to the face strategy. Okay, there is an attempted Wheel of Fortune and a quick counterspell from Simon. Wheel of Fortune would have filled the hand up with maybe 9 or 12 points of burn. We have a Sarah Angel quick play from Simon and a quick Psyblast from Don. Don takes 2 damage to Psyblast the Sarah Angel out of existence. Okay, Don with 6 mana, and the City of Brass has him fixed on everything. Simon with 5. Here's a Brain Geyser for 3. Simon's going to tap out to attempt to Brain Geyser for 3 cards. And Don does, no response. I don't know if Don had a Red Blast in hand. Simon plays out a land in the factory and the Sapphire. Okay. Don's tapping a white, and here is the Savannah Lion. Again, like I said in the last game, once you get to turn 5 and 6, Lions are not quite as big a threat, but it looks like Simon is still going to take care of him because his life total is low enough. He's at 11. That the factory by itself is maybe not enough to make you confidently hold back a Lion. There is the Time Elemental Sarah Angel, so 3 for 3 in games in this match. Well done, Simon. Way to get the great draw there to have your sweetest Sarah Angel make an appearance in all 3 games. This one hasn't been control magic yet. We'll see if maybe Don can break that dry spell. So here's 4 damage coming to Don. Once you get the Angel to stick, the clock is really ticking. And Don has, I believe, 2 Psyblasts in the graveyard. One went right to the life total of Simon, and one took out another Sarah Angel. But that might be Don's best answer here. Here comes Jayemday Tome, and the Tome is live for Simon. So Simon has 8 mana, so four to cast it, 4 to read it. Don showing us a Tundra there that he just ripped. Don holds up the Tundra to the camera. Oh, and there's a Plateau. Don, way to go. Show that camera your top decks. Don probably feels the writing on the wall here with all of this pressure on the board and an active Jayemday Tome. He might know that things are not looking so good. He's going to have to answer a few different creatures in just 1 or 2 draws. He's at 6, so I believe Don is dead on board if he can't find a non-land card there. He's got a Plateau in hand, and looks like he shows off his hand of 2 lands, and there is the handshake between Don and Simon. Very, very nice match, players. I really appreciated watching your championship match. I liked watching your decks in action. I like to see the sweet cards, sweet printings, the altered cards, the signed cards. Everything about it was great. Both players kind of showing off what they chose for sideboard. There's the healing salve from Simon. Very nice on that. Simon tells the story that he arrived just that morning to Denver, flew to visit us here from Texas just that morning, played, just casually won the old school event, and then went back that very night. So Simon really making that day count, traveling early in the morning to Denver, having a great showing at the tournament, having a few drinks. I think Simon just kind of hung out at the venue till the wee hours and then headed right back to the airport. So Simon, awesome job with your match. Don, tough luck in those draws here in Game 3, but it was a pleasure to host that. I have had a great time commentating all these videos from YETICON. We may be bringing you some more videos from future events, but stay tuned for that. For now, I am Corey, member of the Rocky Mountain Yetis. I'm signing off.